A very warm welcome to the 12th recitation, which is about large data set in spreadsheet. The purpose of this recitation is to practice processing the large data sets using pivot tables and Excel tables. So for this recitation, we will be using a file example 3, which is an Excel sheet. This Excel file can be found on Canvas under the Files tab. If you go under the Recitation Information tab, under my name, Jayashree Damala, you can find the file in the folder of Recitation 12. Before we start, a reminder to fill the quiz form after watching the video and also mention the honor code statement in the assignment submission to be considered for grading. So the topics that are going to be covered in today's recitation will be as follows. We will start by working on pivot tables for the two worksheets, which are the sales worksheet and the transaction one worksheet. Then we will move on to work with the Excel table for one worksheet, which is transactions two worksheet. So pivot tables, what are these? They are one of the most powerful and useful features of Excel. The reason being that with very little effort, you can use a pivot table to build good-looking reports for very large data sets. So you can think of pivot table as a report. However, unlike a static report, a pivot table provides an interactive view of the data. With very little effort and no formulas, you can look at the same data from many different perspectives. You can group data into categories, break down data into years and months, filter data to include or exclude categories, and even build charts. The beauty of pivot tables is that they allow you to interactively explore your data in different ways. So let's see how the pivot tables are created by working on the first worksheet, which is the sales one. The file looks like this, and it has three sheets over here: sales, transaction one, transaction two. So let's get started now. First, we will select the data for the pivot table. For this, you can just select any cell inside the data set. Then you will go on to click on the Insert tab and click on the pivot table icon. This will display or create the pivot table window. Then you click on OK to accept the selections that are provided by default. So let's go and do that. We have the data set over here. We will click on any one of the cells of the data set. Go to the Insert tab on the top and click on Pivot Table. It will by default have some selections, and just click on OK. This will create a new sheet where the pivot table will be seen, and on the right hand side you can see the pivot table window. So we have to check. So let me just shift the sheet here. So we have this. Now over here we can see the different columns that we have, and we have to select the ones that we want. So we will go on and check the boxes for country, order date, salesperson, and order amount. So we have country, order date, order amount, and salesperson. So this way we have selected the rows that we want, and accordingly the pivot table is created. So here we can see that the row labels are country. Inside of country you have the years, so you have the years over here. Then after years you have the quarters mentioned here, so you have the quarters. And then if you go down, then we have the order date and the salesperson. So inside quarters, we'll have the order dates, and inside the dates, we have the salesperson. So this is how the pivot table is created according to the selections that we have made. So this is how now we have created our pivot table. The next thing we have to do is we can group, and we can group the dates. So according to the attributes that we selected, the pivot table was created. Now the sum of the amount is calculated in terms of country, year, and salesperson. But this data is very disorganized. So what we can do is we can group the date so it can make better sense. So we can click on any date and then click on the group selection icon. On the grouping window, just select the years and the months. So now the dates will be grouped, and makes the data look more organized. So we can just click on the date and we can go to group selection and just select months and years and click on OK. So now we'll have the year, and inside the year we'll just have the months and then all the salesperson name. So this is how it made the data look more organized. Then next we can do is try collapsing and expanding the data. So we can do this by clicking on any year inside the data, and in the active field group, click on the expand entire field button, which is denoted by a small green cross. So this will help to like expand the data. And if we want to collapse the entire field, then we have to click on the button, which is denoted by a small red dash. So this will summarize the data by the year. So suppose we have this, the year. If you can see in the active field tab, you have a plus sign over here. If you click on it, it will expand it. And if we click on the red minus sign, it is going to collapse it. So this is how we can expand and collapse. So with this, we have understood how to create a pivot table. Now let's go a step further by working with the next sheet, which is the transactions one sheet. Uh, as done previously, we created pivot table in the previous one. In this one also, we'll create the pivot table. So let's try and do that. We can click on any one of the cells of the data set, go to the insert tab, then click on pivot table. The selections that are there, let it be the way they were, and just click on OK. So once we click on OK, we get the pivot table window on the right hand side where we can select the columns that we want. So the columns that we're going to select is category name, product name, ship country, ship city, and quantity. So we have category name, product name, ship country, ship city, and quantity. Okay. So now we can see that the pivot table is created according to the selections that we have done. We can now click on any category label like beverages and hit the collapse button. So it will display the quantity sold by the category. So let's just click on this and let's click on the collapse button. So it will give us the labels, that is the category like beverages, condiments, dairy products, and the sum of the quantity once we collapse it. So next is modifying the pivot table. Here I would request everyone to like just pause the video and try to follow the instructions, then come back and check for how it is done. So the idea is that instead of collapsible pivot table, let's try to create a traditional pivot table. So on the lower portion of the right side of the screen, just try to drag ship country to the columns label quadrant. So you have the ship country over here in the rows quadrant. Just drag it to the columns quadrant. And then click on the plus sign at the left of beverages. This will show the detailed information for different products and cities. So now if you click on the plus sign over here, you have all the products that products are, the quantity of that products is given in terms of the countries because now they have become column. But here you can see that some of the entries are blank because there is no sales data for those products and cities. In case you want to collapse this information, then you can just click on the minus sign again and it is going to collapse. So by this way, you can just drag and drop the categories into the respective columns. So quadrants, sorry. And this way you can control what you want as your rows and labels. Now, based on the shipper of the products, let's try to filter some kind of information. So on the right hand side of the screen at the top, select the shipper name field and drag it to the report filter quadrant. This will display the shipper name entry in cell A1, B1 with an arrow. So let's try doing that. You have the shipper name over here. Drag it to filters because we want to filter the table according to the shipper name. Once I do that, if you have noticed in cell A1, B1, shipper name has been written over there and there is an arrow. So you click on this arrow and you click on select multiple items. Now you uncheck the boxes that you don't want to filter. So suppose I want the products that are only shipped by federal shipping. So I'm just gonna uncheck the other boxes and only check the federal shipping box and click on OK. So now in this way, I get only the shipping which is done by federal shipping. So this is how we can filter. Now the filter can be changed also. I can have, I just want to know the shipping that is done by federal shipping and speedy express. So I can just check that and click on OK. So accordingly, it is on a filter and show the changes. The pivot table automatically updates to like whatever changes we make to the filter. Now let's try to do one thing. Let's try to make a new pivot table in a new worksheet where the row labels are countries, cities, the columns are shippers, employees as filters, and the quantities are values. So why don't you like just pause the video over here, try to do this, try to put the categories in the respective quadrants and then come back and see how it's done. So let's try and create another pivot table. You click on this, go to insert, click on pivot table. Okay. So we're going to select the categories as given, like we need rows and we need the countries, cities. So we need the ship country, we need the ship city. Then we need the shipper name and the employee. So we have the shipper name and the quantities. So what we can do is now we have the ship country and ship city, which we need as the rows. We need the shipper name as columns. So I'm just going to drag shipper name to columns. So now you can see that here the rows are the countries and cities and the columns become the shippers. Then the next is we need a filter according to the employee ID. So I am just going to drag employee ID and put it in the filter section. So you can see this is displayed in the A1, B1 cell, and I can just decide which employee IDs I want to check. So probably I just want for employee ID 1 and 9. So for employee ID 1 and 9, the pivot table is being shown. So this is how we can make pivot tables, and according to our choices, we can decide what the rows and the columns should be, how we want to filter it. The next topic is Excel tables. So Excel tables are containers for your data. Imagine like a house without any closets or cupboards to store your things. It would be a complete chaos. So Excel tables are just like these closets and cupboards for your data because they help to contain and organize data in the spreadsheet. In your house, you might put all your plates into one kitchen cupboard. Similarly, you might put all your customer data into one Excel table. So tables tell Excel that all the data is related. Without a table, the only thing relating the data is the proximity to each other. So to understand Excel tables, we are going to be using the transactions to worksheet. Again, to create the Excel table, you have to select the data first, and this is done by clicking on any of the cells inside the data set. And you click on the insert tab, then the table icon, the create table window will be displayed. Just click on OK and accept the default selections. So let's go and do that. We go to transactions to worksheet. First, we click on any cell which is inside the data set. go to the Insert tab. In that, click on the table icon and just click on OK. But let the default changes be. So whenever you do that, you will see that there are arrows on all the column headers. So this means that the Excel table has been created. Now these arrows over here are used, they basically give the filtering and sorting functionalities, which we will see later in the recitation. So to this table, first let's try to add a new column based on some formula. Excel table provides a feature to create formula based column without using the cell references. It's called as a structured formula or structured reference. So a structured reference is a special syntax for referencing in Excel tables. They work like regular cell references only, but they are easy to read and understand. Also, an advantage of structured references is that it is dynamic and they adjust automatically when data is added or removed from the Excel sheet. So what we will do is we have to first click on the first available cell on the heading row that is right of the order date column. Then using the unit price and the discount column, the net price will be calculated for the product. So we can type net price on the target cell, and let's see how that works. So we have a column, we can have a column here. So we'll write net price, and you can see automatically the formatting is done, and you can see an arrow here already. So that means we have successfully added a column to our Excel table. Now, once that is done, we know the net price is calculated by using the unit price and the discount column. So what we can do is on the first empty cell, we can write our formula, which is going to be unit price into 1 minus discount. So we can just start writing the formula equal to this unit price into 1 minus discount. So, oh, sorry. Instead of square brackets, this should be circular brackets. Yes. So we have unit price into 1 minus discount. So you can see the unit price column and the discount column is highlighted. That means it has understood that it has to take values from these columns. And it gives a pop-up which says the formula you type would return multiple values, which is not supported in tables. Would you like to use the following formula instead? So it just puts the @ sign in front of the column name. So just click on yes. So this is done. You can see that the values have been automatically calculated. So the formula is executed and we have the net price. This is how you can create columns and use formulas without actually using the referencing to get values. Now, let's try to make another column, but this time you guys try to make another column. Just pause the video and go and try to create another column called net sale using the same technique. And the formula for net sale is the net price into the quantity. So just try to pause the video, go and create this formula, and then come back for the answer. So if we need another column, we can just type the column name, which is net sale. And net sale is actually the quantity, the net price multiplied by the quantity. So we just want to write net price multiplied by the quantity. So you can see the quantity column and the net price column are highlighted. So we know that the right columns have been chosen. Again, it will change the formula and put @ in front of the column labels. So just go ahead and click on yes, and it will create the net sale values also. So now that we know how to create columns in our Excel table, let's play with the sorting and the filtering functions. Okay, so consider a situation where we want to select records related to Germany for the net sale between $200 to $500, and the selections should be sorted by the product name. So here we have to filter and sort both, and the steps to do will be as follows. First thing you do is, first we need to filter it according to Germany. So just click on the ship country arrow and deselect all items. That is, you uncheck select all and select only Germany. So if you go to ship country, you click on this arrow, and here instead of select all, just deselect the select all option. Go down and just select Germany and click on OK. So now you will only see the rows. You will only see the rows where the ship country is Germany. So you can see there are only Germany related rows here. And so this way we have filtered it according to the country that we want. The next is we want the net sales to be between $200 and $500. So again, we will go to the net sale column, click on the arrow. Over here, you can go to number filters and click on the option between. So you can write is greater than equal to 200 and is less than equal to 500. So this way we will get all the rows where the country is Germany and the net sale is between 200 and 500, like you can see. Then the next thing we have to do is sorting. So we want to sort the product names alphabetically. So we can go to the product name and click on sort A to Z. So it is going to sort the rows according to the alphabetical order of the product names. So this is how the filtering and sorting can be done just by clicking on these arrows, which is really easy. Now, let's try to change the filtering and sorting, and just follow the instructions, pause the video, go ahead, try doing that, and then come back to the video and see how it is done. So you can change the filter so that only the dates in the second quarter of 2013 are displayed. So that is the days between April 1 and June 30 of 2013 should be displayed. Then in addition to that, you should filter information that has quantity only greater than 20. So this is the two filters that you need to add. Then for sorting, you have to sort it by the ship city and the shipper name. So try to do the filtering and sorting according to the instructions and then come back for the solution. Also, note one thing, the number filter option should be used when filtering numbers or dates. Dates are also stored and processed as numbers on spreadsheets. The checkboxes should be used only for text-based data. So now let's go and filter the dates. We can click on the order date, then go to date filters and put the custom filters. So we need the order date, which is after April 1, which is 01/04/2013, and is before 31, and it is before 30 June, sorry, 30 June of 2000, 30 June of 2013. So this way, now we have the order dates where it is only of the second quarter of 2013 year. Then in addition, we need to filter information that has quantity greater than 20. So we can go on quantity and go to number filters and click on greater than and just write 20. So this will filter out the information where the quantity is greater than 20. Then what we can do is we have to sort it according to the ship city and the shipper name. So first we can go to the ship city and sort it from A to Z. And then we can go to the shipper name and sort it from A to Z. So we have sorted our data also. We can also sort it the other way around. We can sort it from Z to A, and we can sort this from Z to A. With this, we have gone through all the worksheets, and let's try to revise whatever we have done. So we first did the sales worksheet. In the sales worksheet, we created the pivot table. The pivot table was created by using the insert tab and the pivot table icon. And we selected the categories that we want by checking the boxes on the right hand side of the pivot table window. This created the table that we can see on the left hand side. This is what we did for our first worksheet. Then for the transactions worksheet, again, we followed the same procedure and created a pivot table as seen over here. But here we went a step further and we tried to play with what we want as our rows and columns. So we selected the categories we want as rows, which is category name, product name, ship city. And then we wanted our columns to be the ship country. So we dragged that category into the columns quadrant. Then we saw how to filter according to the category given. So you just have to drag the category and put it in the filters column. And here it will create a cell for filtering where you can select according to what you want to filter. Like just check the box and click on the OK button for the filtering purpose. Then we created another pivot table for the same transactions worksheet, and this time we had different set of rows and columns. We had the countries and cities as rows and the shipper names as the columns. Again, we did try to put a filter for the employee ID, and where we can select as many criterias as we want, and according to which the pivot table changes its data. Then after the last worksheet that we worked on was transactions 2, where we tried to create an Excel table. We started off by creating new columns to the Excel table. Then we tried to understand how we can use the arrows to filter and sort. We saw that when we are working with numbers, we have to use the number filters for the filtering. If we are working with text data, then we have to use the options, the checkboxes that are there for the filtering purpose. And if we want to sort, we can sort smallest to largest or largest to smallest for numbers. And if we are dealing with our text, then we can sort it from A to Z or from Z to A. So now that we are done with this, time to test your knowledge. So go to the quiz link and just fill it up because this will also be used to mark your attendance. Thank you and meet you in the next recitation.